Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to the Tuesday, March 12th edition of Established to Run's NBA Injury Analysis Show. I am Mark Dankenbring, joined as always by Mike Gallagher, one of the top industry analysis guys on injuries in the fantasy industry, and working hard for us at Established to Run. How you doing today on this fine Tuesday, Mike?
Yeah, doing good. I'm on the injury report. I haven't been hiking. I know a lot of people are talking about me looking good. Shout out to you guys for the compliments. But yeah, I haven't been hiking the last week. I hurt my toe, so I'm on an injury report. Pains me, man. But the
Dang.
good news is, it's just minor. I'm hoping I can be back tomorrow. But I dug in. I really got a lot of timeline stuff, so I should have a lot of good notes for you guys. A pretty big day. Got a couple big returns. Still waiting on Middleton. I definitely want to talk about that. And
Mhm.
then we start our Shingun-less period of the NBA, which Woj mentioned could be a little bit.
You mentioned the toe. Is this one of those great toe injuries that I love to
Yep,
see on the injury reports? Great toe.
it
Shoot.
is great toe sprain. Yeah, yep, painful.
I noticed today later when we get to Rashawn Holmes for the Wizards, he's listed with a big toe, and I just want to know, like from behind the scenes, when they decide to list with big toe versus great toe. I would love to ask someone that, as maybe like we might be the two people in the world that actually think that's interesting. But
Yeah, for sure.
regardless, we'll get started today with a nice 7-game slate. We have these nice even slates throughout the week here, so 7 games on tap tonight. The first game of the night is an absolute barn burner from the other night with the Philadelphia 76ers at the New York Knicks. Both teams failed to score 80 points tonight or in the other game. And so tonight, this is the lowest over-under on the slate, as you could imagine, after that slugfest the other night. Some key injury information on both sides, as the 76ers will be welcoming back Tyrese Maxey from the concussion protocol, but they will still be without Joel Embiid, DeAnthony Melton, Robert Covington, and Terquavion Smith. They all remain out. So Maxey is back, with a concussion. Hopefully conditioning is decent for him. Do you have any insight on Maxey and if he'll be full go tonight in his return?
Yeah, so timeline-wise, he had a, quote, mild concussion. Don't forget, he played through it at first, and then they ruled him out. So this is pretty minor. He's been going through workouts since at least March 8th, went through another workout March 9th, and is good to go. So pretty much all signs point to him being full to me, just because he's had, a half a week of full ramping up conditioning-wise. It wasn't out that bad. And again, they weren't expecting him this time, unlike some severe concussions. So we took like a minute and a half off of him, but there's a chance they just play him like 40 like they usually do. So obviously the matchup's not great. OG Anunoby set to return the other side. We just saw what happened with this terrible 80-less game that was produced over the weekend. So expecting him to start almost certainly over Cameron Payne to move to the bench. We took probably like probably like 40% of Maxey's minutes we got from Payne. So we're expecting Payne to feel the pain of Maxey coming in. We took a little bit of Kyle Lowry, expecting him to start again. Should also note, Buddy Hield came off the bench last game, and he actually was cut short minutes-wise. Nick Nurse said after the game that he hurt himself, was cleared to play, but they thought that the group that was in there was playing well enough to just close out the game. So that's how that goes. So no listing for Buddy. I would be careful. I would just be careful on that. Buddy's been really, really durable. So pretty much just disregard, but don't be surprised if you see like, oh, Buddy gets added to the injury report because it's the Sixers. Like, you got to really dig in on the Sixers here because they don't tell us everything. And then, probably starting Mo Bamba. They could go back to Paul Reed because they were running him with Maxey. It could be all tied together there. Obviously, Tobias is going to start. I think they're going to let Kelly Oubre start. So yeah, you're basically going to slot Maxey into Campaign's minutes there. Campaign actually out-touched Kyle Lowry, which didn't happen in the earlier Lowry game. So Campaign loses minutes and role here. And then also KJ Martin's minutes cut real short. Obviously a product of Nick Batum, full go, Paul Reed playing a lot better off the bench. So yeah, those guys feel the squeeze, but the guards, we took a little bit off of Lowry, a little bit off of Oubre, a little bit off of Hield for all that. So yeah, so we've kind of pieced from the backcourt guys, but KJ Martin will feel the squeeze because they'll play a little bit smaller. You add Maxey into the mix.
Sounds good. Yeah, Philly has had a lot of guys in and out here, so a lot to digest. And I think, the likeliest starters, as you laid out, you think Maxey, Lowry, Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, and Mo Bamba. Is that kind of what we're,
Yeah.
expecting at this point?
Yeah, I think so. It's again, Nurse could flip it. We've seen him run some different lineups out there. He said, about a week and a half ago, he'd be quote searching for lineups. There was that comment that it would be a three-way split back when they had Maxi of between Kelly Oubre, Buddy Hield, and who was the last one? I forget. It was maybe no, that was actually pre-Lowry, so I take that comment back. But yeah, so not confident. I could definitely see them changing. As we all know, we will not be finding out until 30 minutes before the game when the 76ers social account will tweet out the lineup.
Sounds good. Let's head over to the Knicks side where they are also potentially getting a big return tonight, and that's OG Anunoby. He is listed questionable, been out since January 27th, so a long time coming here for the Knicks. Last time he suited up for the Knicks, they did not have Bojan Bogdanovic or Alec Burks on the squad, so a bit of a different rotation that he's coming back to at this point. Do you think OG is full go? Do you fully expect him to suit up tonight? Take us through the timeline on OG and what you're expecting in his potential return tonight.
Yeah, so timeline, we saw that back in January he got his listing changed, right? That prompted eventual surgery on February 8th. He would have been updated in 3 weeks. Right on time with that update. They updated him, cleared him for on-court work. So literally 3 weeks to the day there. Got cleared for 5-on-5 contact on March 6th. So we've got about a week of being cleared, and he was cleared for non-contact work like 2 weeks ago. So we've got a pretty nice ramp up here. So the conditioning should be good. I would imagine that this elbow thing is something that wouldn't be aggravated. He did everything in practice on March 9th. So we've got about a solid week of like full on basketball stuff. We got about solid 2 weeks of ramping up. So he's pretty full. We saw him play like 43. I think he could be like 38, 39, but we're giving a little bit of credit to, as you mentioned, the depth and just he's returning from a month off injury, being a little careful. But I would not be surprised. They need him, man. Their defense has been horrible, excluding this game that we've got on the screen. So I think there's a world where he plays like a stupid amount of minutes here. But we've got we're just being responsible. We don't want to go full Tibbs, even though it is Tibbs calling the shots on OG. So he will start presumably over Precious Achiuwa, who's been playing pretty well after kind of dipping a little bit about a week ago. So I'd expect him to start. Should mention Jalen Brunson's minutes have been down. We also dinged him for being light in the last game, was blowout 2 games ago. And then we saw like early February, he's hanging like 38s all the time. But again, OG wasn't there to eat minutes. They've got other guys who, weren't able to eat minutes there. So we took a little bit off him. 35.5 is usually low for us for Brunson. We hang like 38s on him all the time when they were really thin. So took some from him, took some from Bojan. Took the Deuce McBride, almost all that overlap. Alec Burks is down bad. Wouldn't be surprised if he's out of the rotation today. And then we'll see what's up with Isaiah Hartenstein. Went to the locker room over the weekend. He hasn't really been right. We haven't really seen the minutes. There was commentary from him about, mid-time last week saying like it's going to be like a long ramp up for the playoffs. Julius Randle and Mitch Robinson are like trending up. And should also note that about 3 weeks ago, a lot of the reporting was that Randle was going to beat OG back, but that's flipped, obviously, with OG back in the lineup. So, yeah, I think that mostly covers it. And we'll see what happens with Jericho Sims, because was Precious playing well enough to give him all the backup center minutes? Certainly possible. We took a lot of Jericho Sims away because I think Precious has been pretty good. So, yeah. And then Josh Hart maybe doesn't play 45 minutes tonight.
I was going to ask about Jericho Sims, so glad you hit on that at the end. If OG does start over Precious, I do think it makes sense that they would cycle in Precious behind Hartenstein there for the backup 5 and then limit Sims minutes, as you mentioned. And yeah, we are currently under 40 minutes on Josh Hart projection right now, which feels off based on the last month or two. But yeah, I mean, the Knicks are slowly getting healthier here and actually have a full rotation, 9-man rotation of guys that they can trust and Tibbs trust, which is a big deal after the huge minutes low we've seen from them and their team slipping a little bit along with this thinning out of their rotation. All right, let's move along to the next game on the slate, which is the Indiana Pacers at Oklahoma City Thunder. It is the front end of a back-to-back for the Pacers here. They are still without Benedict Mathurin, who is out for the season after undergoing labrum surgery, and then Doug McDermott is out here with a calf strain. They also have a few of their G League questionable tags per usual, but no one that would necessarily get into the rotation, so don't have to worry about that tonight. Any insight here on the Pacers as they continue to have life without Benedict Mathurin here?
Yeah, worth noting that Jalen Smith is not on the injury report after an illness got to him late. Ricardo said it kind of came out of nowhere. They just decided to hold him out. So should be back. To tie into that, there was a comment from Carlos saying that they did like the look of the Pascal Siakam, Obi Toppin 4-5 combo. We know teams like to play small against OKC. Some teams like to go bigger because they could kind of get the most on the glass. So a little push and pull. We've got a couple minutes of small ball mixed in there for a matchup. And overall pace of the game. These two teams play really, really fast there. So, yeah, Aaron Nesmith minutes came alive in a big way. We saw him hang in the upper 20s, but really let him loose in the last game. We gave him a little bit of credit there, returning from some injuries there. And I think Nemhard's going to guard poor SGA. Poor Nemhard, I should say, is going to have to guard SGA, and it's not going to go well for him looking at SGA stuff for sure. Yeah, I'd probably cover boy SGA if I was doing a matchup say, just to put it that way. But the other thing is TJ McConnell, the most competitive player on the team in classic undersized white guy talk from Rick Carlisle. We saw a lot of overlap. Again, if this game plays small, that could be a way to kind of get McConnell more minutes there. But they're just too big on the wings. I don't know if they can do that. So got a little bit of overlap there. Jarris Walker's minutes got really cut down because of that. So yeah, pretty much covers it there. And then, I think it mostly covers it.
We've kind of seen the push and pull with either Jarris Walker getting in as the last man, or they either up Ben Shepherd or TJ McConnell. Do you have any sort of indication when Rick Carlisle might pull that string and use Jarris? Because we saw him play about 15 minutes against the Wolves the other night. And then, as you know, you can see on the screen here, cut down to 3 against Orlando, checked in the first quarter and then didn't come back in. So do you think it's just kind of be night to night? We're guessing on when he'll either be, get a couple rotations or maybe just one.
Yeah, it's a bit of a product of McConnell cooking. You had to find minutes from somewhere, especially when they're playing, and also Nesmith playing a ton too. So he kind of got it from within the bench and the starters. So he kind of got it both ways. So we got him. I think we landed on 9 or 10. So yeah, we think he's got a shot to return, especially on a back-to-back. We gave a couple minutes for the back-to-back to loosen it up. They play Chicago tomorrow at home. So.
Great. On the Thunder side, we have Jalen Williams, J-Dub, listed questionable here with a right ankle sprain. We saw him exit the last game and Cason Wallace start the second half. Any insight here on J-Dub? I think he's had a couple ankle sprains this year. Is this the same one that he's been dealing with, or what's the background here on J-Dub?
I actually didn't look at that, but he did roll the ankle. I could find out in a second, though. But yeah, he went through shoot around, so I kind of was like, oh, he's probably good once I saw that. So I stopped researching. But I went through shoot around. It didn't look terrible, and I was like a little surprised that he got ruled out so quick. So yeah, if he doesn't play, it'll be Cason Wallace. A lot of interesting commentary from Mark Daigneault saying that Cason Wallace is going to really be asked to handle the ball more next season. He's like, okay, we'll kind of keep him here. Secondary actions, blah, 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 blah. So, it sounds like J-Dub's in. I'll look at the ankle stuff in a second here. Josh Giddey played really well in limited minutes. They just housed the Grizzlies, like not surprised at all. So, I think that's where we're at. Obviously, pretty good game. Love the pace of this game. We've got pretty strong minutes. Spread's not too tight. And I think I'm considering betting OKC. Like, just Indiana has to score around the paint, and they're not like a big rebounding team. They just drive into the paint, and that's what OKC is really good at. They're really good at taking away like drives and downhill scoring. So I think that the OKC's defense kind of matches up, and they're great transition defense as well. One of the best transition defenses. So they've got a lot of strengths to maybe slow down this Indiana offense.
Love it. The Thunder are currently 7-point favorites right now, and that game is the highest over-under of the night after we started with the lowest over-under of the night. So going to a fast pace, much more fantasy-friendly matchup there in OKC. Hopefully it'd be a fun game to watch. Always love seeing Halliburton play, and obviously SGA, and hopefully J-Dub can suit up to get that matchup as well. All right, let's move along to the Mike Gallagher bad basketball matchup of the night. This was an easy one tonight, and that's the Washington Wizards at Memphis Grizzlies. It's the front end of a back-to-back for Memphis. On the Wizards side, they are without Marvin Bagley, Isaiah Livers, Landry Shamet, and Rashawn Holmes. Holmes was initially listed questionable today and then downgraded to out, so it seems like he is close to a return. But we saw against the Heat the other night that the Wizards went small and started Kyle Kuzma. Obviously, without Bagley and Holmes, they will have that decision again tonight against the Grizzlies. Do you expect them to go that same route, or what are you expecting out of the Wizards rotation tonight?
Yeah, I do. And as you noted, J-Dub did roll the same ankle late January. It was pretty much fine and good to go. So, yeah, I'm not expecting any sort of limit if you can go. Yeah, a lot of commentary from Brian Keefe about how that Kyle Kuzma embraced that center role, had a lot of downhill game going to him, got to the line a bunch, so really big minutes coming from him there. We got a pretty strong minutes on this game. They're getting pretty thin, and they are assuming I can't imagine Rashawn Holmes moved the line that much, but they were 2.5-point road dogs.
Wow.
Let's see if it moved at all really quick. Man, this is going slow. Yeah, line didn't
Looks,
move.
yeah.
Doing Rashawn Holmes moved the other way actually. Man, cold blooded. Yeah, for the Wizards to be road dogs, man, that just tells you how bad this Memphis team's going to be today, from an overall talent standpoint. But with the Wizards, yeah, we'll get the same starting lineup. I feel pretty confident in that. Tyus Jones is, quote, the extension of the coaching staff. Coming off a 16-dime game, played really well. He's been just diming like crazy for the last 2 months. Kispert will play a ton. We saw him play 39 the last game. They like him for even some wing defense, some secondary handling. Denny Avdi playing, sometimes plays the center defensively. They put him on low post defense at times. Bilal Coulibaly playing a ton. Patrick Baldwin Jr., we have him basically as getting the non-Kuzma minutes. Commentary saying that he's kind of earned minutes after playing well at the go-go from Brian Keefe. And then Jordan Poole, if he can get hot, maybe that kind of cuts into Kispert or any of those guys, coming off a pretty down game. Not surprising against Miami's really good defense. So, yeah, we got the starting lineup. Baldwin's a lock. Johnny Davis, I'd say, is a lock as well. They want to play him more for defense. Imagine that. And Jordan Poole. Those would be the core 8 guys. And then we got a little bit of Eugene Omoyuri and Anthony Gill kind of mixed in to fill in some scraps so we're not so tight in this matchup.
Sounds good. We've commented a few times since Brian Keefe took over that in these close games he will run it really tight, and that's beneficial for us in DFS. And I mean, they're certainly not putting Johnny Davis out there for offensive purposes because he has some of the worst shooting numbers I've ever seen for an NBA player at all levels. So hopefully he can pick it up a little bit. But yeah, been tough sledding so far for the Wizards' first round pick from a couple years ago. All right, on the Grizzlies side, got to get ready to talk through all these out tags. They remain without Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant, Derrick Rose, Marcus Smart, Yuta Watanabe, Vince Williams, and Zaire Williams. So obviously, hundreds of rotations minutes out there for the Grizzlies. Scottie Pippen Jr. is listed doubtful, and then the questionable tags for tonight are Jordan Goodwin, John Conchar, and Lamar Stevens. So a ton going on here. Obviously, with the out tags. They've continued to sign some 10-day guys, some two-way players. How about let's start with the questionable tags, and if you think who is most likely to play out of Jordan Goodwin, John Conchar, and Lamar Stevens, and yeah, just any insight on their questionable tags.
I mean, they're just managing it back to back. This is all it is. They're trying to tank this game. We knew it was going to be bad because the Wizards are basically the worst record in the NBA. But yeah, so I don't really have a lot of insight. This is just pure tanking. I guess Goodwin is because he was listed most recently. This contrast stuff feels like BS tanking. So I don't really have a lot of insight, and I think that I would say for sure one of those guys is missing. I just don't know who. They are in a back to back, so probably sitting 1 or 2 today, 1 or 2 tomorrow, just so they have an 8-man rotation. They have 8 right now, and I did the write-up. I forgot to put my notes in there. But we are expecting, if Conchar is in, we think he's going to start with Luke Kennard, Santi Aldama, and Trey Jemison. Should start. And then we have Jake LaRavia starting to keep Gigi off the bench. We did see Gigi Jackson start the last game and play really well. Really the only bright spot for Memphis when getting blown out. So I think they'll keep Gigi off the bench because they want to keep his usage high. But I wouldn't be surprised if he just kind of hey, we just need to play Gigi more and need to start him. He'll play a lot regardless. And then Wenyen Gabriel, we got to talk about him. He signed a deal to play in Puerto Rico. So he's still on the team roster right now? Does that change? Does he just bolt? I mean, I would love to go to Puerto Rico right now. It sounds like a great time. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll be watching to see if he gets downgraded to inactive. But he would play Dejan Giroux, a number 77 wearer as well. Shout out to Luka Doncic. Shout out to Omer Yurtseven. He should be in the rotation kind of regardless there. Lamar should still be in there. And I think that covers it for the 10. So yeah, they got 10 right now. But then again, I expect it to be down to 8 one way or another, whether it's Wendell going bye-bye or, a couple of those Q tags getting cut down. This is, again, to be you have to be a pretty bad team to be a home dog to the Wizards.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think here, even with the questionable tags and who they have available, I think we can lock in Luke Kennard as a starter, Santi
Yep.
Aldama as a starter, and maybe Jake Laravia. Do you think Laravia is at that point? And then obviously, if Conchar suits up, I would expect him to start as
Hmm.
well. And then with just kind of the last spot between either Trey Jemison or if they decide to start Jordan Goodwin at point potentially if he's available as well. So lots of shifting parts there for the
Hmm.
Grizzlies as we continue. We still have a month left to deal with this. It feels like fully feels like the last couple weeks of the season where teams are all over the place, but the Grizzlies are giving us a full 2 months of it essentially. So
Yeah.
always a lot going on.
And if I wasn't clear, we have Goodwin off the bench. So starting we right now with everyone projected in Luke Conchar, Laravia, Santi, Jemison, but it could be Gigi for either one. For Jemison, maybe they go small, especially when they're going small on the other side, right? So maybe they go him and with Santi at the 5, and then Goodwin, Dejan, Gigi, Lamar, Wenyon for the 10, just to be concise there.
Sounds good. Yeah. And with the Wenyon thing, you would think that if you're under NBA contract, you probably couldn't sign another basketball related contract elsewhere, but I'm not sure on the non compete rules or when that
Yeah.
takes place for Wenyon Gabriel. So certainly a kind of an odd situation to keep track of there ahead of the game tonight. All right, let's move along to a bit more of an exciting game because Victor Wembanyama will be suiting up, and that's the Houston Rockets at San Antonio Spurs. The Rockets, as you mentioned at the top of the show, will be without Alperen Sengun for the first time after that pretty nasty lower leg injury that left him with a severe ankle sprain and bone bruise in his knee. And then Cam Whitmore is also out here with an ankle sprain. So removing about 60 minutes projected from their rotation, 55 to 60 minutes there. So decent amount to pick up here. The Rockets are also without Tari Eason, Nate Hinton, Jermaine Samuels, and Steven Adams, who have all been listed out on the injury report for a couple weeks now. So nothing new there, but something new with Sengun and Whitmore. Who do you expect to start for Alperen Sengun? And then who do you expect to be kind of, fill some more bench minutes with Cam Whitmore out?
Yeah, they're pretty thin. We had to Tibbs eyes this rotation. We've got some pretty big numbers out there. So last time Shingun didn't play, the only time Shingun didn't play, it was 31 minutes of Jeff Green as a starter, and then also on top of that, we saw Jeff Green sub in when Shingun got hurt. So we've got a pretty good indication that Uncle Jeff will be getting the starting spot here. We got him around 30 minutes. They don't really like Landale. But they did play him a pretty decent bit in the last game. So we've got him, I think 15 is what we landed on. So those guys will be in the rotation. I mentioned they got to play Landale. They just need the minutes, especially with Cam Whitmore out. So those guys will benefit. We've got pretty strong minutes for Jabari. If you told me that Jabari would get no foul trouble in this game, he might hit 40. I mean, they need him really, really badly here. So Jabari in a pretty good spot. The matchup got a little bit worse here. He's probably going to have to guard Wembanyama, so not great there. Dylan Brooks minutes are up. We gave Van Vliet like full credit to playing like 38 again. Jalen Green's minutes have been really strong, so he'll be playing a lot. Amen Thompson's minutes are a lot safer. We got Aaron Holiday and like a little bit of spillover to Reggie Bullock if they did want to kind of extend it, but they might just go really tight. So yeah, really good matchup. The Spurs are a little better defensively, but still not great with Wemby's impact. So yeah, could be a lot of fantasy goodness just because again you're removing Şengün, who was just playing a lot of minutes, and B had such a big offensive role from a shooting standpoint and from a handling standpoint. So kind of fantasy goodness abound with Şengün out of the mix for this team.
Yeah, a lot up for grabs usage wise, and maybe we see Jalen Green's hot streak continue. He's been
Mm-hmm.
playing a lot better of late, and it'll be interesting to see if Uncle Jeff gets inserted in the starting lineup, and they're like, to 37-year-old Jeff Green, we haven't been playing you much lately, but here's 30 minutes. Go guard Victor Wembanyama and see how it goes. So certainly curious to see who they start in Sengun, obviously with that matchup on the other side. And just looking at our minutes, we currently don't have any overlap for Aaron Holiday outside of Fred VanVleet. Without Cam Whitmore, I would potentially think we should maybe add a little bit there to hedge that. If they decide not to play Reggie Bullock, I could see Aaron Holiday getting extended a bit. But yeah, we've seen Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore kind of be the super subs off the bench for them. So hopefully Amen Thompson's role much solidified and his growth will continue without those two key guys in the rotation. All right, let's move over to the Spurs side, where, as I mentioned, no listing for Victor Wembanyama here on the second night of a back-to-back. He did get 31 and a half minutes after playing, I think, about only 14 or 15 in the first half, so kind of backloaded him a little bit. He played most of the fourth quarter and is not listed tonight. So we're fully expecting him to suit up. There was no minutes limit for him last night. I would expect, him to kind of be in that 28 to 31, 32 range again tonight. And then Keldon Johnson here is listed questionable with a stomach illness. So that's probably the biggest thing to note. Jetty Osman is still out along with 4 G League tags, but that does not include Dominic Barlow, who we've, kind of talked about a bit in tandem with Wemby. He did play some minutes last night next to Victor Wembanyama. So what do you think tonight on the Spurs rotation? Any insight here on Keldon? He's listed with a stomach illness, so that's not ideal. So could potentially talk through if he were to miss, who would benefit from his absence.
Yeah, let's talk Wemby first. So mostly wrong by me yesterday. They did manage him. He had a 4-minute stint to start the game, and then the stints got longer and longer and longer to like a really long fourth quarter stint. That was a little bit surprising. So I got that wrong. We got an under wrong. My bad. Hate to see it. Did have a couple really bad anyway. I'm not gonna tilt on the show. So yeah, full go. Pop said that they might try to do something different on the back-to-back, but just based on the fact that they extended him every rotation out there makes me think he's going to be full go. So, expecting a pretty big role there. Matchup, again, not perfectly ideal, but the one-on-one stuff, it doesn't bother Wemby. So it could be a pretty big spot for him. Kind of neutral in my opinion. Worth noting, Devin Vassell wasn't listed. He did have, quote, a not an injury after missing a game last time. I thought he was going to get a P tag today, maybe even ruled out since this is something he's managing. Possibly keep an eye out for a downgrade on him there. And then Keldon, stomach illness. I don't really have a take. Obviously, if he didn't play, that would be great for Malachi Brannon, Julian Champagnie. We'd probably see more Barlow, as you mentioned. He got minutes at the 4 yesterday. I think that would probably be locked and loaded in this spot. And then that's kind of Wesley, I think, is just going to play behind Trey Jones. And then obviously more. Oh, the daylight savings time has changed me. I'm Arizona. We don't deserve. So my alarms, I got to switch them now. The 28 afters are back. So I think that pretty much covers it. Jeremy Sohan will play more. So it would just be kind of spread around. I don't think we really need to add anybody. I think it would just be Barlow's locked in for more minutes at the 4 if Keldon didn't play.
Sounds good. You mentioned not the best matchup here for Wemby, but do you think without Sengun, do you think there's any chance that the Rockets play a little bit more in transition as they go smaller? Sengun mainly operates in the half court. Have you noticed that in games he's missed previously? Do you think this could be more of an up-tempo spot for the Rockets?
Yeah, they like to kind of take away transition. So I don't know if they want to feed into that, because if you're going in transition, sometimes it hurts you on the other end, right? If you're playing so fast, you're giving yourself more risk to be kind of hurting at the other end. So I kind of don't think it's going to matter, honestly.
Yeah. Udoka seems like one that wants to establish the half court defense. And so but curious if you thought there could be a potential change there.
Yeah, it makes sense, because we've only really seen it with Sengun pretty much in there. So we don't really have a precedent to go off what they're going to look like. And he's, he's a pretty big minutes guy as well.
For sure. All right, let's move along to the next game on the slate, which is the Boston Celtics at Utah Jazz. Will Hardy will be coaching against his former team. And the Celtics, it is the back end of a back-to-back for Boston in their last game of a road trip, which has been pretty tough for them with losses in Cleveland and Denver. Last night, they were without Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. Seems like Porzingis' injury is a little bit more legitimate. He's listed with a hamstring injury that caused him to miss the game in Phoenix, and then last night's game as well. So typically we see him and Al Horford alternate on these back-to-back sets, but there's a chance I think Porzingis could sit tonight as well. Currently we do not have an injury report for the Celtics, so we're flying a little bit blind. But yesterday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Derek White were all listed questionable and then available pretty early on in the day. So there's a chance they could be listed questionable again here. I'll toss it over to you, and you can kind of take it away on Boston. And do you think Al Horford will sit for sure tonight? Any insight on Porzingis' potential return and how the Celtics will kind of deal with this last game of the road trip in Utah, which is a place we see a lot of stars and players sit, especially on back-to-backs?
Yeah, the Celtics did not file on the 2:30, just came out. So, I mentioned this on Drew Holiday yesterday. He usually gets the management tag for his right elbow. He got listed with a knee injury yesterday. So this is new. I think he's going to play, and then getting ruled out early, that was a little weird. So I think he's now that with adding that, so I talked about yesterday being 2-2. So I think they were okay, let's hit Drew and then just take care of business tonight and then sit out whoever. The easy part, as you mentioned, Horford's sitting today. Like, he just doesn't play back-to-backs anymore. So he's probably out regardless. Kristaps, again, he's missed multiple games. You saw him miss that game against the Suns, big national TV game, get rolled out early, very early. So I think he's got a good chance to sit. Jaylen Brown's taking a couple dings. He got dinged up over the weekend. He got dinged up in the Warriors game. He got dinged up last night. He had a fall. He's been like really aggressive defensively, and he's had a couple times where it kind of like hurts him from just contact injuries. So I think he's probably next in line. So I would rank the injury like for sure with a bullet. Horford sitting, Kristaps next, Drew Holiday next. Again, that new injury scares me. And then Jaylen, and then Jason Tatum, then Derek White. I don't know. So yeah, we'll see. Again, expecting multiple Q tags, out tags, at least Al Horford, but maybe more. I mean, this team is just built as such a buffer to sit guys. So maybe they just sit everyone, give Will Hardy, their former buddy, a gift. And yeah, the Celtics played great yesterday. Only 3 turnovers from them. Big miss from us on Sam Hauser's minutes. He played a ton. He played great. For them off the bench. The Celtics, the Blazers just kept losing him. We had an under on him that was quite bad. But yeah, we'll see. Then interesting, they didn't play Xavier. They went just real tight. They went 8-man, which is why we got it so wrong. We thought they would maybe sneak in Springer, maybe spring in Xavier Tillman for a bigger lineup. But they went straight 8 on top of O'Shea Brissett picking up 3 fouls in the first half. So really concentrated the minutes yesterday. But again, expecting multiple people to sit here.
Yeah, the 8-man is definitely surprising, especially on the front end of a back-to-back. This sets up to me like kind of a mass rest spot for Boston. I mentioned the last game of a road trip for them. You mentioned they're way clear of anyone in the Eastern Conference, 8.5 games up, 5 games up on OKC for the best record in the NBA. So this kind of seems like a mass potential rest spot to me. They go home on Thursday to welcome the Phoenix Suns. That's a TNT game. So, kind of all signs to me point to a potential mass rest spot here for Boston. All right, let's move over to the Jazz, who are without a couple key front court players as well. Taylor Hendricks and Lauri Markkanen remain listed out here. In the starting lineup, it seems like Colin Sexton, Keontae George, and John Collins are locks at this point, but who do you expect to fill out kind of the back end of the starting lineup here? Do you think it'll be Bryce Sensabaugh and Walker Kessler again, as we saw in their last game, or do you think they could potentially go back to Luka Samanic, or what are you thinking here with the Jazz rotation as they're without Taylor Hendricks and Lauri Markkanen?
Yeah, I think Bryce Sensabaugh's in there. There was commentary from Will Hardy saying they want to see the chemistry develop between Sensabaugh and Keontae George. They were pretty sloppy. They had 9 turnovers combined, but they had a pretty good third quarter against the Nuggets. It was really led by them, mainly Keontae, playing really well. So I'm pretty sure Sensabaugh is going to start. And I think Walker Kessler, but it's the Celtics. But the Celtics might be sitting more people out. I don't really know. So it's kind of tough. Like, I think if the Celtics have everyone, I think it's less likely that Walker Kessler starts. But for now, we got Walker Kessler in starting. I could see them going back to Samanic. There was commentary from Cardi that called a week ago where they were like, okay, hey, well, getting Lauri's minutes, but you're not going to have his role. So we know they're not going to start Clarkson. They like him off the bench. I don't think they're going to start Chris Dunn. So that's kind of where we're at. And yeah, just massive minutes for Keontae George, strong minutes for Sensabaugh. Sexton got a bunch of minutes here. There was comments from Clarkson's minutes were pretty light in the bench because the bench was just getting killed. But yeah, there was comments saying that he's such a pro, didn't complain about the lighter minutes, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at.
Cool. All right, let's move along to the penultimate game on the slate. That's the Milwaukee Bucks at Sacramento Kings. It's the front end of a back-to-back here for the Kings. Island game for the Bucks, so they should be fully rested, good to go here. Potentially, the big name on the injury report here is Chris Middleton. Still remains out. He was initially came into the day listed questionable, so it looks like he's nearing a return. But otherwise, on the injury report for the Bucks, Marjon Beauchamp is listed questionable with back spasms. He has not been in the rotation of late, so can kind of skip over that. And then Giannis Antetokounmpo probable with right knee tendonitis, and AJ Green listed probable as well here. So any insight on Giannis's availability listed probable? He's been playing through more of the probable tag, so I think should be good to go. But I can talk about him, and then potentially Chris Middleton's return to action here shortly. Again, was initially listed questionable and downgraded to out.
Yeah, Giannis is good. We mentioned over the weekend that he had a change designation from the Achilles thing that was bothering him with tendonitis. Now he's got knee tendonitis, so he's got 2 pretty big tendonitis issues. Yeah, Doc don't care. Played some 39 minutes over the last game. Just pick and roll after pick and roll after pick and roll with Damian Lillard, who's playing extremely well right now there. So yeah, full go. We literally just was like, all right, because we keep showing unders, like let's just keep pushing him up so we could just not take Giannis unders anymore. So I want to talk Middleton. I dug all this up because I was ready for him to return today when I started researching. So I'm gonna save some of it for when he does return, if he does return. But the headline to me was like how wrong they've been about him returning, which is highlighted by him being not playing today. So February 9th, he's called day to day. Doc Rivers says he'll miss at least 2 games. That's February 9th. We're March 12th. Started doing on-court work on the 22nd. And on the 22nd of last month, it is March 12th.
Yeah.
He could, quote, clearly play in a playoff game, according to Doc Rivers. Just hilarious. March 22nd. And I'll save the rest for later. But just the fact that you could say you could clearly play in a playoff game and you're still not back on March 12th. But yeah, Jay Crowder continues to start. As I mentioned last show, that they want to play Pat Connaughton more. That's held up. They're playing Pat Connaughton way more late. His minutes are really rising. So that's pretty much it here. We'll see if they extend for the fast pace of this game from the Kings. But yeah, other than that, we're pretty straightforward. Malik Beasley played a bunch of really tight rotation in a day game, again, which is also why we're like, oh yeah, maybe they lighten day game now. He plays 39. Yeah. But yeah, pretty much good to go besides this Middleton. And we'll cross that Middleton bridge eventually. Maybe next time. We'll see.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to be doing on-court work for 3 weeks and not return. So Middleton, has had the injury stack up over the years and just does not seem to be a quick healer by any means. So probably taking a little bit longer than anyone expected there with that ankle sprain. All right, on the other side, the Kings, we are dealing with another ankle sprain. Keegan Murray listed questionable here after Dylan Brooks stepped on his foot and, it kind of rolled his left ankle. He did play a vast majority of the game, got up to 31 and a half minutes, just did not play the final 2 minutes. I'm not sure exactly if that was for injury or just a defensive sub for him, but any insight here on Keegan Murray's potential availability tonight?
Yeah, got a little bit here, went through shoot around and went through practice yesterday. So, and I think he had the starter. I think he had the same color jerseys as the other guys. So I assume he was like full go with the first unit. So pretty much every sign is he's going to be in there. We took like a minute off for just the injury risk or whatever. So yeah, he's good to go. Pretty much don't have much else to add. We've seen Harrison Barnes minutes crater here and there. We saw him absolutely get completely cratered in the Lakers game. It's kind of similar spot, right? We were like, okay, he's going to play more against LeBron, and he had a history of playing more against LeBron. Would they go another route? Will they play Trey Lyles to guard LeBron, to guard Giannis? I don't know. And obviously, Malik Monk is really cutting to Kevin Huerter, and we continue to see the double backup point guard lineup. Seems like Mike Brown really likes playing Davion Mitchell next to Keon Ellis. Certainly, that's going to be something to pay attention to because they're going to want to have somebody to guard Damian Lillard. So, yeah, Kevin Huerter is kind of getting it from all directions to get his minutes cut down. Certainly, I expect Malik Monk to play a pretty good bit in the spot. And possibly the 6-man. If Bobby Portis wins this game over Malik Monk and outscores him, you have to give Bobby Portis 6th man of the year. Those are the rules. I don't make the rules. But
we need a
six man of the year square off.
What Mike's holding, 100-1 tickets on Bobby, 75-1, 50-1, all the way down. He kept.
I got a lot of monks. I got a lot of monks too, so I'm good. But yeah, Bobby Portis would be a print.
Nice. And then I know you typically like to target ball handling scores against the Bucks. Yeah. Does this situation set up well for De'Aaron Fox scoring? Obviously, Malik Monk loves to run the pick and roll. Do you think it's kind of a good matchup for both of those guards here?
Absolutely, yeah. If I mentioned cover boy for Shea, I have to. Fox would be a close second for cover boy for me. So yeah, definitely on De'Aaron Fox spot.
Cool. All right, we are on the last game of the night, the Minnesota Timberwolves at Los Angeles Clippers. A lot going on here. Some potentially, I'm not sure how we're going to do this analysis with all the questionable tags here, but
I got you.
Island game for both teams at least. But on the Timberwolves side, they're without Karl Anthony Towns after his meniscus surgery, likely to be out most of the regular season, if not all of the regular season. And then several questionable tags here with Anthony Edwards listed questionable with that left ankle soreness that's been bothering him. Rudy Gobert questionable with a hamstring. Monty Morris questionable also with a hamstring. And then Kyle Anderson questionable here with shoulder pain. So what's your read on the Wolves here tonight and who do you expect to be available?
Yeah, we've got hashtag biggest game of the year vibes. Let me pull up the standings here in a sec because this is a big game for these teams. It is national TV, so it checks a lot of boxes, not a back-to-back either for massive minutes. But yeah, because they could cut the lead to 1 here. Sorry, I'm running a little slow. Yeah, 2-game lead. So the Clippers get this one. That is massive, and I think you maybe want to be in the 2-3. We'll see, but yeah. So this is a big game. After that, where did my box scores go? I had Milwaukee up there somewhere. There it is. Um, okay, so I want to do the Wolves first. Crap, I got the wrong game up. Anyways, let's talk about the Wolves and let's talk about how they're probably mostly management tags for most of them. So Rudy Gobert, first time he's listed with a hamstring, which is a little bit weird. I think he's good to go. Did go through a pregame workout at Crypto against the Lakers. Slow-mo also getting managed. We saw him hurt his shoulder, get listed and ruled out. So I'm pretty sure those guys are in. Again, this game's huge, so expecting them to be a go. We took like 1 minute off just because that hamstring tag scares me a little bit. So I've got like a little bit of concerns on Gobert. I kind of have zero concerns on Kyle Anderson. And then Monte Morris, we saw him have the hamstring injury last week and get rolled out. So definitely a chance he sits. Jordan McLaughlin coming off a pretty strong game. He would certainly pick up those minutes, although they got to find wing defense. So this is a spot where I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker, they may just have to find him minutes here because Ant's going to play a ton. He's probably a lock for like 38. He could play like 42, 43 because they need this game. And then Nas Reed played a ton. He'll have to find minutes. This could be like a really tight rotation. If the guys are in, it'll be Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Slow-mo, and then Rudy. And then the main 2 bench guys by a lot would be Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Nas Reed. We'll see how much TJ Warren get cut down. Luka Garza would go away. I wouldn't be surprised if they just cut out Jordan McLaughlin just to make sure that Nog gets his minutes to guard Paul George in the spot. They just need wing defense in the worst way here. And Nog is top 10 like wing defender in the NBA. He's been awesome. We got really big minutes in this game. I think that coaches can run this pretty tight.
Yeah, that all makes sense to me. And if ranking these 4 Q tags, you have Anthony Edwards, clear number 1 to most likely to play. And then kind of below that, probably Gobert. We see a note here from Alex that local radio show said that Gobert is expected back tonight. Could potentially lean on that. And then, Kyle Anderson. I do think Monte Morris is probably at the bottom of that list after the hamstring strain that's caused him to miss. That's definitely a legit injury there. So on the other side, we have a couple more questionable tags to deal with the Clippers. First, Russell Westbrook is out after hand surgery, so he'll be out for a while as well. And then Paul George here listed questionable with knee soreness, and Kawhi Leonard questionable with groin soreness. We saw the Clippers list, I think 3 key guys questionable on Saturday. They all played, and then Sunday that most of them sat. So besides Harden, and Harden is not listed here tonight. But any insight here on Paul George and Kawhi?
Yeah, pretty much standard practice to, hey, you missed the last game in a back-to-back. They got listed the same way. So pretty sure this is just a BS procedural tag. We know the Wolves are notorious for this. They love putting guys on Qs after Os for like multiple games. So pretty much throwing this out the window. We got them for full minutes, as I mentioned. Could see really concentrated minutes. I think the Clippers really, really want this game here, and you get the national TV boost. I always want to boost guys a half minute to a minute for the national TV stuff. So yeah, matchups still not very good, right? The Wolves defense should still hold up pretty okay here. So, but yeah, expecting a ton of minutes. We might see like 3 or 4 40-minute games tonight, man. I think we could see really tight rotations in the spot.
Cool. Love it. Yeah. Hopefully with
actually, one more thing, if I can.
Sure.
Keep an eye out. Zubats also felt better in the last game, according to Ty Lue. But we know that Ty Lue loves to go small against Rudy Gobert. So we haven't really seen them run small ball stuff. But we took a couple small ball minutes because we have a pretty clear indication over the course of time that Ty Lue will go small and make Rudy Gobert kind of go out in space more. Although Rudy Gobert in space has been really, really good this year defensively. So did just want to note the Lue versus Gobert tactician stuff that we know he's so prone to go to.
Yeah, always fun to see how he approaches these matchups. And I do think in that same vein, we might see more Daniel Tice, or that, he'll be locked in just because he can stretch the floor, where Zubac and Plumlee are, mostly rim runners. Don't really shoot outside of the paint, where Daniel Tice can at least stretch it out to the 3 a little bit there. All right, that will do it for us today. Mike, any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, let's talk about what we're doing tomorrow.
For sure.
So if you remember last year, Wednesday nights or other nights, we would do playback. So we're bringing that back tomorrow at 9 Eastern. We'll be doing playback on it's all. We'll tweet out more of the details, But yeah, you just hop on playback. We'll kind of pop around games. I'm sure we'll have some bets tomorrow. Pretty big slate tomorrow. A couple, got a national TV game tomorrow night for Lakers Kings. And then there's like no bad basketball for me. Actually, I guess you could call it a Hawks Blazers. I'll probably want to watch that one with the Hawks being really shorthanded. Get some Vit Krejci stuff. So yeah, we'll be on playback talking bets. We always take live bets. So I'm sure most of you guys watching are pretty familiar with that. A lot of fun. Mostly bet talk and a little bit of X's and O's talk. Should be really fun. So check us out on playback tomorrow. Should be continuously going Wednesdays with me. I'll be there. Dink will be there, and more people. Are you going to be there? And most importantly, Dink, you're going to be there.
Yeah, we're rotating. I looked at the schedule tomorrow. Currently, Claff is on with you and Drew, but I know I'll be home and chilling. So
Yeah.
I'll probably hop on for a little bit. Yeah, essentially, we're just watching the games, kind of taking what we talk about in Slack out into public. So we'll be talking through some potential live bets that we like. We're often hitting live spreads, live prop bets on players. So we'll just be watching games. You can come hang out with us. The link is playback.tv/ETR. As Mike mentioned, we will tweet that out. But I think there'll be at least 3 or 4 ETR team members watching some basketball tomorrow and talking through things. So be sure to join us if you're watching the games and want to hang out with us. It was definitely a lot of fun last year, and I'm excited to get it going again this year.
Yep.
All right, that will do it for this edition of the Established to Run NBA Injury Analysis Show. As always, we ask you for your support in promoting this free content by liking this video and subscribing to our YouTube channel. We are closing in on 5,000 subscribers, which is our goal for the end of the season. So please go down below this video and hit subscribe and like. It really does mean a lot to us here at ETR to have your support on this free content. If you're interested in supporting us behind the paywall, you can head to establishedtorun.com/subscribe-MBA and get all of our offerings there. We have a lot going on behind the paywall as well. Drew and Mike will be on tonight, the DFS shows at 5 p.m. Eastern time every night. So we'll get all the DFS analysis for each evening there with typically with Drew, and then rotating cast of characters we got at ETR behind the scenes. We also have Mike's matchups column Monday, Wednesday through Friday, and then a free podcast as well that Mike and Drew just dropped a great episode yesterday talking about playoff contenders and who we expect to make the finals. So that was a great podcast. Shout out to them. But that will do it for us today here. Tomorrow we'll be back with Drew and Mike on the injury show. And we'll be back tomorrow night as well with playback as well. So if you guys want to hang out with us a little bit more and talk shop, we'll be there. But that will do it for us today. Hope you guys have a good one out there. Peace.